The Passover was not many days away. The Passover what? Passover is a Jewish festival, so every Jew in Jerusalem would have been getting ready to celebrate it. They'd been celebrating Passover for hundreds and hundreds of years by having a special meal that reminded them of when their very ancient family was set free from Egypt. You can read all about it in the Bible. Have a look at Exodus chapter 12. By now, the chief priests and important temple people were so desperate to get rid of Jesus. They were worried he was going to start turning people against them, and then they'd have even bigger problems to deal with. But then the devil got to Judas, one of Jesus's 12 disciples, and persuaded him to do something that would change everything. So Judas went to see the people who wanted to get rid of Jesus, and together they made a sneaky plan. Judas ended up with a nice pile of money for his trouble, and so he agreed to find a time and place when Jesus would be away from the crowds so that he could be captured. Passover arrived, and everyone started to get ready. The first thing they needed to do was sort out the lamb for the meal. So Jesus asked Peter and John to go and make a start. But they said, "Where are we going to eat? Where should we go and set everything up?" When you go into town, you'll see a man carrying a huge jar of water. Follow him, and when he gets to his house, tell the owner that your teacher wants to know where he can celebrate the Passover with his friends. Then he'll take you upstairs and show you a room where you can get everything ready. Sure enough, when Peter and John got into town, everything happened just like Jesus said it would, which was probably a good thing. Otherwise, Peter and John would have looked mighty strange.
Later on, when it was time for the Passover meal, Jesus and his mates sat down to eat. But just before they started, Jesus said something. "I've been really looking forward to having this meal with you guys before everything starts to happen. I'm going to suffer soon, and I won't get to have a meal like this until we're all together with God." Jesus picked up a cup of wine from the table, thanked God for it, and said, "Pass this around, share it. I won't be having any more wine until God's kingdom is here." Then Jesus picked up some bread from the table and thanked God for that too. He tore the bread into pieces and gave it to his disciples and said, "This bread is my body. It is broken for you. Eat it as a way of remembering me." He picked up another cup of wine, thanked God for it and said, "This wine is my blood. It is poured out for you. God is using it to make everything new." Then Jesus looked each of the disciples in the eye and said, "The person who is going to betray me is here, in this room. It is one of you. I will die just as I was meant to, but for the person who betrays me, it will be horrible." Everything went crazy. The disciples started fighting with each other, trying to find out who would ever betray Jesus. "It's not me. I would never do it. Is it you? What's he talking about? He can't suffer." The disciples carried on fighting and ended up arguing about who was the best. "Look," said Jesus, interrupting their argument, "don't be like the kings who boss people around. Whichever one of you is the best should be the best at serving everyone else. People think it's the person who is being served that is the most important. But think about it. All the time I've been with you, I've been your servant. But because you've stood by me, even when things have been hard, I want you to know that I will make you like kings, because God has made me king over everything. You'll be with me in my kingdom, and we'll eat and drink together.
The disciples stopped arguing. This was all starting to sound pretty serious. "Simon Peter," Jesus said loudly, "listen to me. Every one of you will be tested when I'm gone. But Peter, I've asked God to keep your faith strong, and when you come back to me, to help others." "But Jesus, I'd do anything for you. I'd go to jail for you. I'd even die for you." "Oh, Peter," said Jesus, "if only you knew. Before you hear the cries of the rooster tomorrow morning, you'll turn away from me 3 times. You'll say you don't know me." "Listen, all of you," said Jesus. "When I sent you out and said don't take money or bags or shoes, was there anything that you needed?" "No," they replied, "not at all." Now it's different. If you've got money, bring it with you. If you don't have a sword, buy one. If you've got a bag, fill it with all that you can and carry it with you. It was written about me a long time ago. People will think he's a criminal. That's going to be true soon. That's exactly what they'll think. The disciples rummaged around in their bags and managed to find 2 swords. "Look, Jesus, we've got 2 swords. "That's enough now," said Jesus, as he began to